before facing the high holiday, he meditated, he thought, he figured things out. He made a list of all what he wanted to work on for the next year, because the new year is coming up. He wanted to be ready. So he made a list of all the things that he needs to work on. Because if you don't know what you want to achieve that year, you're not going to get there, right? So he made a list of all the things he wanted to do. And he wrote it all down. And he put the list in his mahzor, in his Rosh Hashanah prayer book. You know, we have one dedicated prayer book. We only use it once a year for Rosh Hashanah. And so he would have the list with him during prayers and the whole high holidays to know what he would, work on and think about. This is the focus to start the year. He wanted to have his goal and objective clearly defined. He made a list. So great. So he walks to synagogue. And on the way, as he's walking, there's a piece of paper falls down. So he bends down to pick up the piece of paper. And he sees this piece of paper fell down from his prayer book. So he picks it up, say, okay, he opens it. Yeah, this is mine. He reads it. This is the whole list of all the things that he told himself he's going to do this year. Except that list was the list from last year. Oh. It was the same thing. So sometimes this is what happened to us. We make plans and this, but it doesn't happen the way we plan on, and we really have to work on it, and we have to figure out how we're going to get there. In exactly 1 month, it's going to be Rosh Hashanah, the new year, and I thought to myself, I can give a lecture on deep Kabbalistic secret of Rosh Hashanah, the meaning of Rosh Hashanah, what is supposed to happen on Rosh Hashanah, and how to improve our lives. And I said to myself, what I think is missing a lot in all the lectures is not the what, but the how. Everybody knows and everybody hears what you're supposed to be doing, but very few people will tell you how to get there. So my job is to show you how, and this is what I like to share, how to get to figure out a very practical way to improve whenever you want and whatever you want to improve on. I noticed that most people, they know already what they need to change. You know? Yeah, you're nodding your head. Everybody knows what they need to change. We don't need to tell you what you need to change or what you need to improve on, because you know already, yes? But the issue is how to go about it. So there was a time where people say, this person or this man, this is how it is. You can't change him. This is how the person is. And then people say, this is how it is, and there's nothing you can do about it. But now with the study of epigenetic, people know that you can really, if you really want, you can acquire trait and you can let go of other things. Before, people thought, okay, this is how I am, this is how I'm going to stay. But now we know people really can change. Do you remember when people used to send postcards? I'm going to date myself here. It had a shofar and a bird and pretty flowers, and it had some glitter. And, people used to send them every year the same postcard. And they had a book, and it says on the book, may you be inscribed in the book of life, right? That was the usual Rosh Hashanah card. Today, what I want to talk to you is about writing that book. It's the book, but in a very unexpected fashion. I told you I could have given, talk about anything else that is very meaningful and very deep, but I'm not here to give a lecture. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you help yourself, because that's what my job as a coach is, to help you help yourself. Okay, because there's things that only you can do. Let's go back to the book. First, I will show you what my book looks like. Everybody writes a book. So this is what my book looks like. So first of all, it's French, because I'm French. So I love this French book, and I love the format of that book. Not only it comes from France, but the pages, right? They're like French French roll, like that's what they call it in America. And I love the feel of the paper. It's very, very fancy paper, which I really love this paper from Clairefontaine. And I love the lines and the pen flows on it. And today I'm starting a new one. I've written many, many of them. And I do it because I found that it helps me. And because I found it helps me, I always try things on myself before I tell other people to do it. So because I found that it helps me, then I want to share this thing with you. And it's a tremendous, tremendous tool to achieve self-improvement. Now, there's so much increase in technology, right? Everybody knows that. Even if you don't want to use it, you're going to have to. You go to Ralph, you want to have a special on the food, you have to have your phone and you have to have your app, and you can't escape it. And to synthesize the information, and because it's just polluting our lives at this point, and or to release anger, sometimes that's what we need, or to release rage or sadness, or the automated negative thoughts that we have in our mind, and they keep coming. I have ants in my kitchen right now, no matter how much, yeah, they're all over the place. Whenever there's construction and there's like heat, they nest. So you kill a lot and they come back. And what we have an acronym for ants. I mean, the ants, we use that as an acronym. We use it as defining automatic negative thoughts. They're there in our brain. You chase one, 10 of them come back, just like the ants on the counter. But what we need to do is write it all this down, and we can do so much to help ourselves heal in a very, very natural, profound way that only we can do if we listen to ourselves about our past trauma, about our anxiety, about the worries, about our hopes. And this is the purpose of writing a book. This is the purpose of journaling and writing, to change ourselves from our inner position. Not someone else doing it to us, but we wanting to do it. I want to ask you a question. If somebody comes to tell you off, would you accept this rebuke from a person that you don't like, or from a person that you love? Or would you accept it more? From a person that you love. That helps with accepting, right? When you write something, you love yourself and you write it and you know you have to fix something, it's much more digestible if you tell it to yourself than if someone else tells it to you, right? So this is the purpose of the journaling. First of all, that it comes from us, and it's much more acceptable to us, because there's things that we love about ourselves and things that we don't. But if we tell ourselves about the things that we want to fix, it's going to be so much easier coming from a place of love and compassion. Before Rosh Hashanah, everybody talking about the book of life. But the most important book you can write is the book you write about your own life. This is the book of your life. And you better write it down and keep on writing, because after a while, it's going to get archived. Can't change it anymore. So this is the time now to do it. I remember when I was a young mother of a large family, I was reading a book by Sarah Shapiro. It was called Growing with My Children. And this is a book that any man who would turn the pages and look at would say, like, who would ever want to read a book like that? But for us women, we just love the book. Why? Sarah Shapiro was a mother, a wife, mother of young children, belonging to a community, having all the little issues that a regular person have. And she wrote that book as her own diary. And later on, she published it. And people read the whole book. It was nothing in the book, no event, no special thing. It was a book that you read about the ups and downs of everyday life in the life of a woman. And I read the whole book, and guess what? A generation later, my daughter-in-law read the book and she loved it also. Why? Because we relate to it so much. When you relate to something, you enjoy the reading, right? Anytime you see a movie, you enjoy the movie as much as you relate to the people that are, the main characters in the movie. If you write your own book and you reread that book, you will enjoy reading that book because it's your own book. You're going to relate to it. Doesn't have to be important, doesn't have to be special. It's your own book. You relate to it. You feel the same way. And so it's very, very important to do that. One day, many years ago, I went to the library. At the time, I used to read a lot of biography of women, especially the wives of famous people. So, like, I read, for example, Lafayette. Everybody knows Lafayette, but nobody knows Adrienne, his wife. Everybody knows Victor Hugo, but not everybody knows about his wife. All the people like Napoleon, all these people, they had wives. Tolstoy, whoever. When you read about the life of the wives of these people, you'd be amazed at what's going on behind the scene. It's not what people think. But anyway, so I love reading this biography, not fiction. I learned a lot. And there was one book that I picked up, and I realized later on that this woman was one of the most famous contemplative writer in her century. And she just wrote about her feelings. She didn't do anything special. She wrote about her feelings and her thoughts. She wrote a whole book. It was totally amazing. Like Benjamin Constant also did that. He wrote about what he thought, what he felt. And these books are amazing. Like a psychologist or a psychiatrist would have a blast because it's like reading what we call an open book. It is an open book. It's like you see the person the way they are. So when you write your own book, you write the book, and it's not for publishing, it's for your own thing. The greatest Baalei Musar, the people that were very holy men that were working on their spiritual development and character trait development, the greatest of the Baalei Musar, they all kept a diary. So when I say diary, a lot of people think, oh, there's this teenager and she has this pink book with the fake lock and she doesn't want her brother to know what's going on to make fun of her. But really, a diary and journaling is the biggest and most important tool for growth. On every holiday, we are supposed to come to the holiday to face God with an offering. It says you should not come with empty-handed. I'm sure your mother told you when you go someplace, you bring something and you say thank you before you take leave, right? Right? That's the polite way to do things. So when you come to God and you have to bring something, you come to the holiday, you have to bring something. What do you bring? What do you bring to God, who is the creative energy, who has everything? So what do you bring? What are you going to bring? It says, don't come empty-handed. What do you bring? What it is like this. God gives us everything. Everything we have is from that energy in the universe that gives it to us, right? So what we can give to God, and the only thing we can give actually, is what we do with it. So if being happy is what you do with it, that's what you bring. Whatever you do with what God gives you, that's what you bring to the holidays. We bring what we make out of the energy that He gives us. And we bring ourselves, and more specifically, what we need to bring is the change that we make in ourselves. Because when God created the world, He created one way, and He created it just enough so that we have a job to do to complete it. So that completion of the world is on us. It says, Asher bara Elokim la'asot. It says that God created the world to do. And who is to do the things? We. We're supposed to do the thing. So he created a world that is just missing the things enough for us to have a job, to have a purpose in life. And by co-creating, by doing the things that he wants us to do, we become his partners, right? So we take what there is and we transform it. We take who we are and we transform it. And this is the best thing that a human being can do. Rereading my journals, I really got really upset when I would see year after year, I would write the same thing. So I decided, okay, I had good excuse because, you know, I didn't even have time sometimes to use the restroom. So how am I going to sit down and think and ponder and, you know, but still, we have to make it a priority, because if we don't think about this change that we need to operate, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing in life. Now, we're going to establish the 3P of preparation for Rosh Hashanah, okay? The 3 P's is be patient. P starts with patient. Be persistent, because like I told you, I could do it over and over again. Every year I'd go back and I would write the same thing, just like the person in the beginning, in the story at the beginning. You know, you have the same list this year or last year. So it's a problem. So how do we fix that? So be persistent and then be positive, because if you're not going to be positive with yourself, it's not going to happen. Proactive also. Yeah. We're not doing like the people that are contemplative and then just like, you know, people go to the psychiatrist for like for 10 years and they've been talking for 10 years. So what happened? Nothing changed because we're not proactive, right? The ingredients of this recipe for change. The first thing you have to know, if you have good ingredients, you're going to have good results. You're going to have a good cake, right? If you don't have good ingredients, it doesn't go. So I insist on good ingredients if you're a master chef. So the good thing is a pen. A pen, why do I say a pen? Because the pen is what you write with. This is the medium that you use through your body, goes through the pen, from the pen onto the paper. If you have a bad pen, or if you write with something you don't enjoy, it's not going to flow. I treat myself to good pens. I don't care how much they cost. I buy them on sale, but I use a lot of them. And I love the gel pen. I used to do fountain pen. Now it revived the industry of fountain pen, this whole thing about writing, because it's all everywhere and in all the fields, people tell you about writing. So a good pen, and then the writing notebook, according to what you write. If you're going to write, if you put the notebook in your night table. If you're going to write when you're on the subway, you get something that you can easily put in your bag. If you're going to keep it in the car, something that folds. Whatever you're going to do, keep your journal, but do not write on loose leaf. That's how it goes. Whenever you write the date and where you are. If you want to write the time also, but always write the date. You want to know, when was it that I felt that way? When was it that I thought these thoughts? And you're going to see the change. If you don't have a reference, if you don't have a date, then you don't really know how much progress you've made. So make it easily available and in a place that you're going to really know where it is. So you don't forget to do it. I like the format of the spiral because it gives me a strong basis and I can even hold it in my hand and I can write even if I'm standing or if I'm in bed or whatever, it's strong enough. And also doesn't take so much room because it bends. I don't like the journals that don't bend. That's my preference. Anyway, I think all the stores have a very good selection of this kind of books. The third ingredient, first of all, a lot of people think that they're going to write with a computer. Okay. So I've seen like Nehama, she did a great job. She made herself an Instagram, a private account, and she wrote and she took pictures, and she wrote and she wrote and she kept a diary, and after a while she printed them. There's a way that you can print them, but what I would recommend to everybody is to write with your hand, not a typewriter, because all the neurologic studies shows that when you write with your hand and you touch something, you activate so many more neurons in your brain than you do if you are writing on the keyboard. So it's very important to handwrite. And as you write yourself, it has much more impact on your brain. So this is what you're trying to do, impacting the way you think. So the more advantage you give yourself, the better off you are. Now, we talked about the pen, the writing tool, the writing platform, and the time. This is the third ingredient. So it could be a little bit difficult to find the time to do it, or to have the discipline to keep on doing it. But as I said, all the people that were really serious, all the Baalei Mussar were serious about improving themselves, they all kept a diary. What's the time? I should say carve the time, because sometimes it's very busy. How do you find the time? But could be at night at your desk, could be at breakfast time, could be when you're traveling, could be at carpool time. No matter what, you need to find a time that you're going to do it. And the thing to remember is persistence, to keep doing it. If you decide to do it every day, that's okay. If you decide to do it once a week, it's okay. No, whatever you decide, be regular and keep on doing it. So you have to do it about 7 times. To get the hang of it, give yourself 7 times. The magic number for your brain to get used to something is 7. Even if you do a physical exercise or any kind of new thing, you do it 7 times, now you know what it's about. And then if you want to see progress, give yourself 30 days. After 30 days, you're bound to see a progress. There's 2 ways to change your brain. The brain has 2 ways that it changes. There's one temporal and one spatial. The spatial way to change your brain is that at one point in space, something happened, a huge boom, a huge explosion, everything happened at the same time in one spot, and that changes. All right? So that's one way. That's the spatial. S-P-A-T-I-A-L. Don't know if, yeah? Okay. The second way to change your brain is temporal. It has to do with time. It means that you do something and it keeps on happening. And because it keeps on happening, it has an effect on the person. Just like now we know about traumas, there's complex traumas and other traumas. There's some traumas that a person gets traumatized a one-time event that really gives them a big shock. And some traumas are, it's every day somebody says something mean to you. Every day you go to school and every day the teacher picks on you. It's a little something, but over time it accumulates, and that gives a trauma to the child. So there's 2 ways to do it. And the way, when you do every day, you keep on writing every day, that's the way to change your brain. All right? If you write one time, it's not going to happen because there's nothing major event, right? So the way to do it is to keep on doing it little, but regularly, and like we said, persistence. The Jewish king has this thing that he has to handwrite a Sefer Torah. He has to write himself a Bible. And he has to do it himself. He can't delegate it, give it to a scribe. And this Torah that he writes to himself, I would say that he writes it small. It's like when I was in school, the teacher said, you can write anything you want, you can cheat, You can write anything you want, but it has to be only on a flashcard. So everybody's starting to write very, very, very small. But we got a lot of information on that one flashcard. But anyway, so the king, the Jewish king, he has a special command. It's only for a Jewish king to write it, to write a Sefer Torah, and to carry it with him at all times. He has to have it on him. You might think this for the king only, but it has to do with me. But you have to understand that in Jewish literature, who do we call a king? That's right. The person has control over himself. Control, right? The person who controls his body, controls his thoughts, controls his action. In the Jewish literature, he is called a melech, he's called a king, because he has control over his subject. He has control over himself. He's called a king. So now, if you think about the king, he has this special command to write for himself a book and to carry it with him all the time. You can extend this and you can say that the book of your life, your own Torah, your own life, your own tree of life, you write it and you keep it. You have to write it yourself. Nobody else can write it for you. And you carry it with you. It means you reread it. It's not enough you just write it, but later on you come back and you read it again. What does it do to read it?
Check on your
progress. Like, for example, for me, I was getting very upset. For 10 years, I keep rewriting the same thing again and again and again. So at some point you say, that's enough. I see like I'm getting disgusted already. So that brings you and motivates you to change. So no matter what, you're going to have the joy of reading about yourself and connecting with yourself. It's the best self-care that you can do. The best self-care is to write your life and to read it. It gives you validation. This is the biggest gift you can give yourself. So let's go back to being practical now about writing this stuff. So you can write, when you write anything you want. Do you want to pass some more papers to Alejandra? She's already finished. She's a good writer, yeah. Yeah, so anything goes, anything you want. You want to write, you want to doodle, you want to write bad things, you want to write horrible things, you want to write anything like with, scribbles and all kinds of whatever it is, everything goes. It's your own emotion. You putting down whatever is inside and you putting it out there. You want to put pictures, sticky note, like a scrapbook, it's up to you. It's up to you. You want to put colors, different pens, different colors, you do whatever you want. You want to write a poem, you want to write whatever goes. The main thing is to write what you feel. Number one, what you feel. But most importantly, you write why you feel this. Because you can write, I'm so mad, I'm so enraged, or I'm so sad. But the main thing is in the writing is asking the question, why do I have this emotion? The best way to learn how to think properly is to journal. I think if people would be journaling instead of watching Netflix, wouldn't have like a whole bunch of lemurs following everybody's, regulations and stuff. You don't have people think and see what it is for what it is. But people go the easy way of accepting other people's idea because they haven't learned how to think for themselves about themselves. About themselves. If you know who you are, why is somebody else telling you what to do or what to think? The best way to learn how to think properly is to listen to yourself. So put your thoughts down, and as you write, also it releases some of the emotional impact of things, because when you write and you use language, activate the left side of your brain, and activating the left side of your brain automatically is going to push your emotion and rebalance the two sides of your brain. So it's very important to keep on writing. Some people, they just write continuous flow for 20 minutes, just write. Just keep on writing, doesn't matter, just everything goes. Write about your anxiety, see the progress that you've made every day. You're going to see over time, you're going to see that you made progress. You're going to acquire clarity, you're going to acquire focus. And the one rule is do not edit. Do not edit. Okay? I have two advice. First, do not edit, number one. Number two, do not ever throw it away. Ever. Because even if you write something horrible and you wish that, you know, you burn it or drown it or tear it apart or whatever, if you were to keep this and it shows how horrible the situation was, and now you're in a different place, then you really see how much progress you've made. And that itself, it elevates you. You know that you can grow and you know you can keep on growing. So do not throw it away. You can put it away in a box, but if one day you want to look at it, you'll be able to look at it, okay? Another thing is, because this is your safe place, yeah, nobody else is supposed to look at it. There's some people who share their diary with other people, and there's a lot of people publish their diaries. What? One of the most famous book is the Diary of Anne Frank. I mean, she wrote it for herself. She didn't write it for, you know, generations to come. But anyway, so if you want to keep it private, you keep it private. You don't share it. So it's your own thing. So what happens over there? You don't have to pretend. You're not on Facebook. You're not on Instagram. You are there, and you be honest, authentic, raw, and truthful. If you want to boast and you're very proud of yourself, you write it. And if you made a mistake, it allow or something that you don't like about yourself, you can write it and you can say, I don't like this. I made a mistake. I will never tell the other person that I made that mistake, but I can admit it to myself because it's a safe place. So this is the beauty of journaling. Like, I'm not gonna tell my roommate that because of me, the cat escaped, you know? I'm gonna tell her, oh, I can't find the cat. I don't know what happened. We can pretend with other people, but with ourselves, we can take responsibilities for what we did. And when we take responsibilities, it liberates us. Literally, it liberates us. When we take responsibility, this is the first empowering moment when we stop pointing the finger at someone else and we say, it's my fault. I could have done better. Not saying that there was nothing there that, you know, made you do this. You know, we all understand there's a reason why we acted this way. But once we say, we're not pointing at the other person, we're pointing at us, it's absolutely liberating. Do not ever throw it away. And remember that this indulgence of writing, it doesn't cost very much. So it's a free healing process. It's very important that things don't get stuck in our mind and that we put it down on the paper. What does it mean when I say, do it with love and compassion, be your best friend, and be persistent? I'll tell you a story. Because sometimes you think to yourself, if you're going to be positive, then nothing is going to change. You're going to love yourself the way you are. Nothing is going to change. But what you really want is to come from a place of love and acceptance of yourself in order to change and be better. So if you hit yourself and say, I hate myself, I am no good, I'm not enough, I'm not like this, I'm not good like that, this is not going to make you be a better person. The place to come is to accept. And then once you accept yourself, then to see what needs to be changed. But from, like, be your best friend. Be your best friend. I tell you what happened with my best friend. I used to, when we were young, we used to walk 1 hour every Saturday morning to go to synagogue. So I would go pick her up and then we'll walk together. And one day I called her from, from downstairs and she doesn't show up on the balcony. Where is she? What happened? So I started getting really worried. Maybe she's sick. Well, what's going on? So I wait until someone opens the door. I go upstairs and I knock on the door and I said to her father, her father opens the door and I say, what happened to Corinne? And he said, she left. I said, what? She left? This never happened before. He says to me, she left 10 minutes ago. So I didn't know what happened. So she left. So I walked by myself. Sure enough, she arrived there before me. And I said to her, what happened? She said to me, she was my best friend, right? She said to me, every week you show up late. And I decided this week I'm going to leave on time. That's all. She's my best friend. She gave me a lesson out of love. It's not that she wanted to be mean, but believe me, I learned the lesson. Believe me, I was not late anymore. But what I want to say is, just a second, there's somebody wanted to get into the room and I didn't even know. Okay, so what I'm saying is that just because you're our best friend and you appreciate yourself, it doesn't mean you're not going to do better. At some point, if you're sick and tired of seeing the same thing repeat itself again and again, like me being late, you're going to change. But don't beat yourself for the things that you're doing wrong. That's what I say when I say, be your best friend, all right? So be positive. When it's time, trust yourself. When you will be time for you to move and go to a different place, it will happen. So now we have the ingredients and what we need to do this. So now let's look at the content, yeah? Rav Dessler writes in Mirtav Eliyahu that what does it mean to serve God? And this is also from a book, Chovat HaLevavot. It's like basic. What does it mean to serve God? What does it mean to serve God? You think it's to do things, right? The commandments, right? So Rav Dessler writes that the best way to serve God is to be aware of ourselves and to clarify and to look into our motives. In other words, we're doing things or we have emotions. Now, can we clarify and purify? In other words, let's look, why do I do this? What makes me do this? And if you ask why did I scream at the person today? Well, maybe I was totally exhausted and tired and hungry, and that's it. The first person on my way got it, right? Maybe. Or maybe this person triggers me. Why does this person triggers me? What's going on with that person that when I'm next to that person, it makes me upset? The question we have to ask ourselves is, why? Why do we have these emotions? And this is what Rav Dessler said. You think, if I'm going to be a good person, I'm going to go to synagogue, I'm going to give charity, I'm going to do this. That's how I'm going to be good. No. The way to be good and to serve God is to always look why we do things. And ask ourselves. It doesn't mean you beat yourself down. It doesn't mean you say, oh, you're no good. You're not enough. That's not what it means. It means you write honestly, you accept you did something that is not desirable, and you want to figure out why, so that you go to the root of the issue. And, okay, I'm not going to take the example of the toothpaste. Why is it triggering you when the toothpaste is left a certain way? Why? Maybe you have a sense of aesthetic. And when you see this, it upsets it. You want everything to be nice and clean. Or you can ask, why do I want everything to be nice and clean? Because I need to have control over a few things, because the rest of the stuff I have no control over. So always ask yourself why this is happening. In the coaching workshop that I gave, so we explore various areas of our life, like the timeline, like our modes of being. You will notice, like if you're with your friend, you're a specific way, or with your childhood friend, you're one way. If you are with people at this big organization, you're a different way. We have different modes of being. If you're with family members, you're a certain way. If you're in the office, you're a certain way. So what are your modes of being? To explore this and ask why. Or sometimes how we make decisions. Why do we make the decision we make them? All these things is like when you write, you ask yourself questions. And these are all important to start. But now let's see what you can write about. To write about different things. So I said already, some people, they make themselves a list. A what? To-do list. You ever had a to-do list? Yeah? Action-oriented people. I have a list and I have to figure out what to do on my list. The thing is, like, when you do your list, there's a reason why the list is not getting done most of the time. And the reason why the list is not getting done is because who you are is not ready to do what's on the list. So the first thing to do is to change who you are. It's going to change what you do. All right? Nevertheless, people like to have, this kind of list of being very action-oriented. They have priorities, like what's non-negotiable, what's exciting, what would I, if I could not do this, would I fight back for doing it? So, you prioritize basically, and you also figure out what's going to give you the most result from the fewer action, right? That's what they say. 20% of your action is going to give you 80% of the result, but that's for people that are action-oriented. I say like this, it's not going to happen until you change yourself. That's why now all the program in whatever business program that they have, you need to have the neurology that is aligned with your plan. If you don't have the mindset, if you don't have the being of who you are, the acting and the doing is not going to follow. So the most important thing is to act on who we are, not what we do. So, so what are some questions that you want to ask? You can ask yourself a lot of questions. There's books and books and books about journaling. So I'm just going to throw away a few of them right now, just like to give you ideas. But there are tons of things that are readily available. Some you can just fill in, and some of them that are just lists. I'm sure online they also have. But okay, so what drained my energy today? Is it a good question? I think it's a very good question. What drained my energy today? I see a lot of young mothers, they are completely out. They cannot wait until 7 p.m. They cannot wait until it's time to put everybody to bed because they are drained. Why? Because they followed everybody around. They catered for everyone. They didn't take care of themselves and they had no pleasure. They felt like they're slaved. So it's draining. It's draining. If you're doing that all day long, it's draining. And then if you have a whole year of that, don't ask. So ask the question, what excited me today and what drained me today? Also, sometimes you write something and you get an answer. You write it in the book and you know something. You see it again and again. But it's right under your nose. It's right in your book. And you read it and it doesn't hit you. It doesn't hit you until sometimes years later and you say, oh my gosh, I saw it right there. I wrote it down exactly what it was. How come I didn't get it? Sometimes it's too close to you. That's why you want to reread these things, because sometimes it's so close to you, you don't even realize what you wrote is really important. Another thing what you can do, what did I learn today? What did I learn today is a good one. It could be anything. It could be I learned to do my hair or my makeup, or it could be I learned how to walk tucking in my stomach so I don't have a backache, or it could be I learned today how to use the biggest, software, for my profession. It doesn't matter. What did you learn today? Every day should come with something that we learn, okay? What chidush did you have? What did you come up with? What thoughts was new? What connection did you make? What are you grateful for? What are okay, some people have fears. So this is good for the people who have fears. Here we go. There's some people have a lot of fears and they imagine the worst. They're always imagining the worst. So I was listening to Ingmar Bergman. He said, the good thing about the catastrophe, I don't know what he called it, catastrophe something, it never hits. But in my head, it's there. I always think the catastrophe is going to happen. It doesn't happen, but in my head, it's there. So he's an older man by now, and he's telling, I learned that the catastrophe guy doesn't show up. It's in my head, but it doesn't show up. So really, really, let's look at things. What is the worst possible scenario that could happen? Okay? This is what I'm betting. I'm betting the worst thing is going to happen. Is it really happening? Is it really going to happen? There's things that are the way they are. There's things that I can change. What do I do for changing them? What is my next small step to take? And accept the things that we cannot change. When bad things happen. So there's sometimes we journal because something hit us really, 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 really bad. And now how we're going to survive, how we're going to get over it. Not necessarily get over, but cope with it. What objectively happened? So, because you can say, this happened, I'm dying. People talk like that. People have that kind of personality, will say, I'm dying from this. So, can we rephrase? Can we say objectively, are you dying? No, you're not. Otherwise, you wouldn't be feeling anything. Right? So, objectively, what happened? And more importantly, what meaning do I give to the event? What meaning do I give to the event? Somebody has a house that burned down. What meaning do they give to the event? The meaning you give to the event is going to trigger your emotions. You give it one meaning. Let's say this is happening so that I grow. That's one meaning. Another meaning is this happened and it shows that I am a nobody and a worthless. So can you see the difference? One is going to make you grow. One is going to get you down. And you can choose which meaning you attribute, because the meaning is you give the meaning. You give the meaning to the event. So this is one question you can ask. What meaning do I give to the event? Another thing is, if I had a friend and this happened to my friend, what would I tell her? Or what would I tell him? It comes from us. It's sincere. It's coming from a loving place. Can we hear it for ourselves? This is another question that some people ask. How is this the best thing that happened to me? It's a tough question. Something really, you look at it and it's really bad. And you say, how is this the best thing that happened to me? My competitor just opened across the street. How is this the best thing that happened to me? Some people have events in their life that are catastrophic. Catastrophic. How is this the best thing that happened to them. You will find that most organizations are started by people that had a traumatic life event and decided they're going to do something to help others. And it becomes huge. Where did it come from? If that event didn't happen, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. And they wouldn't be fulfilling their mission in life. So there's also the famous questions Katie Byron asked. Katie Byron has these 4 questions. It's a book that calls Loving What Is. Yeah. So something happened. Is it true? Is it 100% true? How do you know? Turn it around. These questions are amazing. It's called the work. It's 4 questions. And when you do this kind of thing, this kind of questioning, you come up with things that you would not believe. The very, very profound question. So this is the kind of question you're going to ask yourself in your journaling. And this is somebody has to make a decision. Yeah. Okay, so this is a really funny thing that I found one day in the art store, and I just thought it made me laugh so much I had to buy the thing. It's not that I'm using it, but you're welcome to pass it around and just take one each. So how do you make a decision? This is a little bit of a workout. How do you make the decision? Sometimes you don't know how to make a decision. I don't know what to choose. Why? Because I'm not trusting my intuition, or because I'm doing what my parents want me to do. How do you make your decision? What's the worst case scenario? What would happen?
Or you can, people do things because they think that's what the community wants.
That's right. Other people. It's always coming from the outside. They don't trusting their internal guidance. Yeah. So, this little booklet is really I think it's really funny. But if you have to make a decision and you only had 60 seconds to make a very important life-changing decision, what would you do? What would you do?
Ask for more time.
So, what? So what I'm saying is that sometimes we need to ask ourselves questions. Ask the question. See what answers come to you. Sometimes you ask a question and you get, what is the first thing that pops up? And sometimes it's counterintuitive, but it's the real answer to a question. Accept it. Anyway, so that's the question we ask for journaling. And in closing, that's the kind of question. Like I said, there's a lot of resources online, and you can buy the books, or you can write them yourself, or you can download all the questions. But when you write, always ask why and how. Don't ask what. I could write this cute little story. I think I will write it because it's cute. On Saturday, I was walking, going someplace, and there's this older lady trying to cross the street. So I said, "Do you need any help?" This and that, and it happened that she's quite old lady, wonderful, amazing woman, so cute, so well dressed, so articulate, and so fun. And she was trying to go back home, and she kind of lost her way. She was not far, she was very close. She decided today she's gonna go outside. It's okay. So that was Saturday. So I brought her back to the house, fine. Oh, so today my son calls me. He lives in Lawrence, so that's the other side of the continent. Yeah. He says, "Oh, mommy, I heard you saved the lady yesterday." I said, "What? How do you know?" "Well, this lady's granddaughter works with my mother-in-law in the store." So this is a cute story. Sometimes you want to write a cute story, but what is gonna and it's nice to see these cute things. Because sometimes you forget them, so it's nice to write them. But the main thing that you want to write is for your growth is the why and the how. and what's important and why. And just keep on digging, asking question and asking question. I think this is how we grow as a person. You wish the world would be better, right? So now what we have to wish is we have the skills to make the world better. We have to be actively participating because, like I said, Hashem created the world for us to complete it. So it's our job to do the things that is going to make it happen. So where do you start? You start working on yourself. You're not going to work on everything else. You work on yourself. You make your personal change. And before you change, you have to be aware. Where are you? What am I? Why am I reacting? What's triggering me? You ask yourself the questions. So you work on yourself first. And you make yourself into the person that is able to accomplish your mission, whatever it is. So one tip that I would say about journaling, don't write only on the tough side. Have fun, have fun, like, you want to write a cute story, and write all the loving things. Everybody that left your message, how good you are, how nice you are, how your friend appreciates you, how your children thank you, or whatever it is, whatever you're grateful for. This gives you a safe space because, like I said, don't start operating on all the things that are bothering you about yourself and hit yourself with a hammer. This is not the way to do it. Give yourself a safe space. First, you give yourself the space where you feel comfortable, you love yourself, you have compassion, you accept yourself. And from there, that's where, like my best friend, be your best friend. Then one time, when you're sick and tired of seeing the same thing that you don't like, you're going to end up changing it. Okay, so be patient, be persistent, and what was the last one?
Positive.
Be positive, be good, think good about yourself. So this is our preparation for Rosh Hashanah. We have a whole month. Get ready.